And we are live.
Okay.
Recording in progress.
Oh, now it's
All right.
working.
The
Now it's
chair
gonna get-
notes the time is 6:04. And I call this meeting to order of the Amherst Zoning Board of Appeals. My name is Craig Meadows. I'm acting chair of the Amherst Zoning Board of Appeals. I want to welcome whomever there is out there to this meeting. We will begin with a roll call of ZBA meeting members. My goodness. Philip White,
Present.
Everett Henry,
Present.
I'm Craig Meadows, and I am here. David Sloviter,
Here.
and we have, David, are you Alfeld, are you permanent now? Full-time?
Yes, I'm starting as a regular member, right?
I can see you changing as I look at you. Very good. You're here. Stephen Casey is here.
Present.
And Hilda Greenbaum. I think that's everybody we've got nowadays. Is that correct, Jacinta?
That is correct. Yes.
Okay,
Mr. Chair.
Jacinta Williams is also with us from the staff of the town. Thank you all for being here. Pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2025, extended through June 30th, 2027, the ability of public bodies to meet in a full, remote, or hybrid manner. This meeting will be conducted via remote means. Members of the public who wish to access the meeting may do so via Zoom or by telephone. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure the public can adequately access the meetings in real time via technological means. Please note, there are no public hearings on our agenda this evening. This is an administrative meeting only for the board, which will deliberate on the approval of minutes and discuss internal procedures. So there will be no inclusion of the public this evening. At this meeting, the Zoning Board of Appeals will discuss the following. We had a roll call. We have approval of the minutes of June 26, 2025. And we have a number of discussion items to include election of officers, a review of professionalism, function of the board, and other business not anticipated within 48 hours.
Excuse me, I lost you again. Do you have me?
Yes.
I
we
We
lost-
have-
we can't see you, Hilda, but we can see your name. So that's probably
I
all we
can
need
hear
to.
you, but I can't see anybody. I turned off the iPad. I'm gonna turn it back on. So,
Okay, we're hardly worth looking at.
well,
So why don't we proceed then, Hilda?
just proceed. I'm listening.
Thank you. I think the first item would be the election of officers. There is typically a chair of the board of ZBA, and there has been and has not been, depending upon the time of the year, a vice chair and occasionally a secretary. I think tonight we're going to elect the chair. Well, I have been vice chair for a number of years. I have been informed by the powers that be at my house that I am not going to be volunteering for anything else, or else I am in trouble. So therefore, I would like to recommend to the board a slate of officers who include David Sloviter as chair, since he has no job to deal with and can spend a lot of time doing what needs to be done here, and Everett Henry as the vice chair. That's my recommendation, but that's up to the board. Are there any other recommendations or suggestions?
I did want to throw my hat in the ring to be chair. I served as a board member of the Amherst Montessori School, and I'm about to resign from that, which would give me the opportunity to be even more active on this committee than I was. And I do have the bandwidth, to your point, Mr. Meadows, to be, carry the mantle, so to speak, do what is necessary to serve the town of Amherst. I am fully engaged, site visits, review documentation, processes. And so I had thought about this position, and I do have the bandwidth to take that role on.
Okay,
I would just like to make a comment if I could.
certainly.
I'm sorry to hear, Craig, that Mr. Meadows, that you don't have the bandwidth, as it were, to do that job. I was
Authority.
I had noted that you've been on the ZBA the longest of all of us. And I also noted that observing Steve Judge, there's an awful lot of details to keep track of, a lot of
Exactly.
experience needed to know how to handle the different situations that come up. So of those on the screen right now, I would guess you have the most experience just because you've been on the board the longest. So I'm sorry to hear that I'm glad you're still here as a regular member, but and can appreciate that you've got a limited availability for a full membership. I mean, to be the chair. And I'm glad to hear that Mr. Henry is willing to step forward as well. I think he's been on the board longer, second longer, maybe.
So I think
I'm not sure.
So quite frankly, with Craig not doing this, it would be myself, Philip, and David. We all have, as full members, rather. I believe that David was an alternate member during our tenure, Philip. So I think we've all been on at about the same time, with the exception of Mr. Meadows. So yes, it would be a very new structure with actually it's a very new board with we get the benefit of having Mr. Meadows staying on the board with the experience, as well as Ms. Greenbaum.
Recording in progress.
I'm on two things now. If this is gonna work, I gotta turn the other one off for this feedback. I couldn't tell who was talking before. All right, so let me shut this off.
But yes, I think it is a relatively, in terms of tenure, new board. Yeah.
I think I can say, having been through a number of changes in the board over some years, that the members of this board, as we have it structured right now, are great working together. And I think we would all carry forward what Steve has been doing. It's just a matter of who's got the time and the availability to take on what I see as quite a bit of work involved in doing this correctly. I don't know if there is a correctly with anything, but as best as possible.
Mr. Chair?
David? Oh, wait a second. Philip has got his hand up. Sorry.
No, no worries. So is this a formal nomination process, or are we just kind of doing it?
Well, we're just kind of doing it. It seems like to me.
Okay. Yeah, no, I just didn't know if I
There's
actually
no
needed to
structure
formally
that's
nominate both of them.
designated. Right. Unless somebody wants to make it more formal.
I think at some point we should have an official vote. Yeah.
Well,
I agree.
we have to have that.
Yeah.
David, you're asking?
I have been on this board for 3.5 years as both an associate and a full member, and I understand the workings of the board. And I am willing to take on the responsibility as chair of the board and believe that I can handle it. I know I've been watching Steve for a while, for 3.5 years, and feel quite comfortable with taking it on. So I'm just letting you know, I appreciate, Craig, your confidence in mentioning me at the beginning. And I really take I take that as a real compliment that you've thought about this and that you nominated me. I have the time and the inclination, and I believe the experience, and I'm willing to do it. And that's it. That's all I want to say.
Well, in that instance, Mr. Chair, I move to nominate Emerald Henry to serve as chair for this fiscal year. And then I will nominate David Sloviter.
Oh, so you're nominating both?
I mean, someone else can by
Sure.
all means do it, but I mean,
Okay,
yeah,
well,
no, I think they would both be phenomenal chairs. So
I would agree with you.
But
The only differential I can see between the two of them is David's got a sense of humor that he has a tendency to throw in while as chair.
you can only nominate one.
Why?
You can only nominate one person to be chair.
Why?
You can nominate 2 people to be chairs?
Why not?
There's a chair and a vice chair.
no, you're nominating 2 people so that you can then vote on it.
Okay.
Because if there's more than one person running, obviously we have to vote.
It seemed like a strange process that a single person can nominate 2 people. Because it
Okay,
usually implies, doesn't it? I don't know.
Robert's rules, to my knowledge, doesn't see any conflict in it, but by all means,
I know.
someone else nominate David. That's a non-issue.
I know that the last time we had an election, Steve nominated a slate. So I'm only reminding you, you have to nominate someone to be chair and someone to be vice chair. So you need to.
Can I interject, please? If I
Certainly.
may. Why before we do any more nominations, do we have anybody else interested in any of the other positions that want to speak up? Because I think what I'm hearing and seeing is we're having a discussion, and then once the discussion is over, then to Mr. Sloviter's point, we can then draw up the slate, and we will have the nominations for chair, the nominations for vice chair, so on and so forth, and then we can take the vote accordingly. Does that sound like a decent plan?
yes. I will say that for the first, I don't know, 4 or 5 years that I was on this board, we only had a chair. We had no vice chair and no secretary. We only had a chair. And then it was only recently that we started having a vice chair. I don't know why.
The guidelines, Mr. Chair, requires, in the modified guidelines, it requires a chair, a vice chair, and a clerk. And I think those people step in when in line when the chair is not available, and so on and so forth. Yeah. Yeah.
That was the theory, and then we started rotating the chair towards the end when Steve wasn't here.
That was only because Mr. Judge wanted everyone to have a little bit of experience running a
Right,
meeting.
but we did do that.
Yes. Are you proposing that's another option, Mr. Meadows?
I would think that we've done it once. I don't see why we wouldn't do it again if that came up. But that
Okay.
was at the discretion of the chair, and we can. I think we have worked together well enough and for long enough to make that kind of decision.
Oh,
When the
you
time
let me-
comes.
All right, now I'm on.
I
That's
agree.
working. Am I a panelist or am I not a panelist?
You're a
You
panelist.
are an alternate but you have no voting.
No. I know I don't have a vote, but I've been on as a as an audience, Zoom room, but I haven't been. And now I see my picture is there, but that's my picture from the telephone.
You've always
But
been
it's-
here, Ms. Greenbaum. We didn't lose you. You've always been here.
More, no, but I was sitting in the audience. I wasn't part of the panelists. I wasn't hearing, I wasn't seeing.
Okay, but you're a panelist now. I'm confirming that you're a panelist now.
All right, so let me turn off my phone then.
We can hear you very clearly.
Yeah, you can hear me now, but you couldn't because I've been asking for 10 minutes to let me in.
Oh,
And I wrote you a text. Please make me a panelist.
oh, I see. I
I've
have a
been
couple of
futzing
texts.
around with this since 5:45, okay?
Okay, well, you want to speak now, Hilda?
No, I just want to know that I'm part of the meeting and not sitting out in some room.
Okay. David
right.
Caulfield, did you want to interject anything also?
I think it would be useful to get a little bit of sense of what the chair does. I mean, obviously the chair runs the meetings, leads the discussion, or handles the order of business of the meeting. But is there ways that the chair interacts with the staff outside the meeting?
Yes.
I'd just be curious how it works.
Jacinta, would you go over what you and Mr. Judge have been doing over the years? That you've
Sure.
been here.
Sure. So what generally happens, Mr. Alfeld, is, let's say, prior to a hearing, I will be in contact with the chair. If he has or she has any questions about any of the upcoming items on the agenda, we will meet to go over them. A good example was the Wayfinders Comprehensive Permit project that came through. That was very intensive. That involved a lot of meetings outside of the ZBA, just so that Mr. Judge could know and understand the procedural process, know and understand what needed to take place when, sort of like a choreographed dance in a way. And that involves a lot of just back and forth. Sometimes that's through email, sometimes that's through phone, sometimes that's in person. So there is a sort of partnership, if you will, that takes place when someone becomes the chair. That's not to say that that can't happen with all of you. Happy to work with everyone if we choose to rotate, but that is part of it. There's a lot of research that goes on. Mr. Judge liked to have his packets printed. So that was also a process on a Friday evening, printing that, taking it to him, delivering it, making sure that he had the materials ahead of time. Some people like them digitally, some people like them in like actual paper. So there's a fair amount of involvement with the staff outside of just the hearings. There's the preparation, there's the making sure that you are understanding the bylaw and then presenting the information for that particular item. And if there are several items on the agenda, being prepared to know how to present it, know what is being asked and what we're actually voting on as well. So it is an involved process.
Great, that's very helpful. Thanks.
You're welcome.
I would like to add, you also have the great pleasure of having your name on the legal ad as chair, if that really soothes your ego.
Yay.
I think the clerk also has to sign all the documents as well.
Yes,
Yes, as the clerk have signed all of them as well.
and the chair as well has to sign
Yeah.
all of them. So
Okay. By the way, if there is a need for a clerk, I'd be happy to do that.
Clerk doesn't do anything. Not over my
That's why I want the
40
job.
years. 40 years.
Okay, since this is the
If it's
first part of
needed, I'm
the
just
agenda.
putting that out there. I'm sorry.
All right, so let's say in a formal basis, I will nominate David Sloviter for chair, Everett Henry for vice chair, and David Alfeld for clerk.
I think that's what it's
And
called, yeah.
if, Philip, you want to do another nomination?
Yeah. Let me ask you, David, would you be interested in serving as vice chair?
Oh,
I,
are you? from-
no.
Oh, excuse me,
David, I think we-
Mr. Sloviter. I apologize. I
Right.
forgot for a second.
Okay,
I would, if the desire of the board was to be vice chair, I would be vice chair.
All right, excellent. Then I nominate Everald Henry to serve as chair, David Sloviter, I won't make a mistake again, I promise, as vice chair, and David Offeld as clerk.
Any more discussion? Okay, well, why don't we have a vote? And I have a feeling that David Alfeld is going to be the deciding. So do you want to go first or last?
well, I would like to say that I've had, I'm very impressed with this whole group, and I'm just delighted to be here and to look forward to working with you and during my term. And so this is a very difficult choice, you know, I don't know a lot, but I have observed a little bit of, I've been on a few panels last year. And I was in the audience for several meetings. And I guess my gut is that I would, Mr. Henry has the characteristics, at least I've seen the characteristics in him that would make a good chair. So I think that would be my choice, to the Henry Sloviter myself slate. I guess that's my vote. An explanation. Thanks.
I don't mind going next. I think both David Sloviter and Everett Henry would both make excellent chairs. My only thought as far as going suggesting David Sloviter is because he's retired and doesn't have any other complications. So I will vote for David Sloviter as chair and Everett Henry as vice chair. And of course, the unanimous David Alfeld for clerk.
I guess I'm gonna win.
So I guess
Go.
I'll go next. No, I would echo the sentiments that everyone else has said. I believe we're lucky to have either one of these people serving as our chair. Thankfully, they both agreed to serve as chair or vice chair in the role that they've done. However, because of his legal background, I will vote for Mr. Everald Henry.
Which one of you would like to go next, or does it make any difference?
Well, presuming that we will each vote for ourselves to be chair, it doesn't make any difference.
Okay,
And I will throw my
So-
vote for Henry Sloviter Offeld in that order.
okay. Mr. Henry, I think, Mr. Chair Henry, it looks like the rest of the meeting should be yours to talk about professionalism and functions of the board. And I will absent myself.
Well, thank you. I want to say that, you know, it's watching Steve over the last couple of years has been given me, you know, a lot of information, a lot of know-hows, how to operate. But most importantly, it's that, and I think we talked about this many times, is that we all have this need of serving the town of Amherst that we all call home. And I think this is a very good committee that we're on. We do absolutely great work. And as chair, that is my intent, to continue that great work and be as helpful as I can be. And I think with this board, I think we can all do that together. And so thank you for the confidence. And I will very, very much aspire to when at the end of our tenure together, look back and say, we did absolutely great work. We moved Amherst forward. We built affordable homes. We helped people. And that is the goal of everyone here, is that we are helping people. Steve always said that sometimes, people that come before the ZBA, this may be their only interaction with their town government. And so I do take that very seriously, and I appreciate that all of us here do that. And so we treat people with courtesy, with respect, and make sure that when they leave, whether the decision is in their favor or not, that they feel that they were heard by their town government. And that is what I aspire to do. And so thank you for that. Mhm. And thank you, Mr. Meadows, for chairing this. I was hoping you'd finish out this evening. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
No, thank you. But
yeah.
I think congratulations to both you and Mr.
Yes.
Sloviter. You're both excellent choices to do this. And David Alfeld also,
Yes.
who was the unanimous choice of all of us
Yeah.
for clerk.
Yeah. So going into, professionalism, and I think I just, stepped on that a little bit. It's that when we get these petitions or these applications before us, professionalism is paramount. Again, this is most people's only and probably first or only interaction with the board. And so we want people to feel that, think of customer service. We are, all of us at some point are customers. And so we want to be mindful that how do we want to be treated if we were the person on the opposite side of the board. And so if we put that at the forefront, and if we're mindful of that, and have the professional demeanor and make people feel as if, okay, this could be me at some point, it is very plausible that one of us may come before some version of this board trying to get something done. And how do you want to be remembered? Do you want to be the person that, people walk away again saying, oh, we had a terrible experience, or they may say, well, it didn't go my way, but I do feel they were respectful, they were courteous, they were professional, they heard me, and they provided not only great recommendations, but accurate information to people. Because we want to strive to do that as well, is to make sure that the information that we give to the community is accurate. Because again, everything we do, whether we like it or not, is recorded in history. So that's at some point, somebody is going to find it somewhere. So we want to make sure that it is there. Being respectful, not just to petitioners, but to each other. One of the things that I very much appreciated with this board is that there was never an issue about anyone speaking over anyone, or no one here had ample or adequate time to get their point across or weigh in on an application before us, because we were all courteous to each other, respectful to each other. Everyone had an equal say in every petition that came before them. You had the same information, review the same information, and you had the ability to put in your input and persuade people. You will hear very different viewpoints, but we all had the opportunity to say, here's a different take and here's my take. And I like the collegiate behavior that we had towards everything, because, I'd like to think that no one came in any application petition with a preconceived notion of where it's going to go. You hear the information presented by the applicants. You may think, wait a second, and then you start asking questions and you get in more information and you make the decision that you feel is right based on information that you have, and towards each other respectful. Everyone had ample time. And I think that's something that we should continue to do, is that being respectful towards each other. The training opportunities, if they're afforded by the town, I think we should take them, because as we continue to do this, and I imagine I think together we've done either 2 or 3 40Bs. Those are very lengthy, a lot of information. And so we were very fortunate to have those training opportunities to review additional documentation materials. And so if and when we have additional trainings, I think it is important that we all take them up. That solar panel petition that was before us, that is still, it's about to come back at some point. And that was a lot of information and very different. And so again, those are, anything that we have for training that can help us be better stewards for the town to say, we understand this or we don't understand this. And one of the things too is like, I like the idea that people usually come and say, well, I did some research and I read this. And so that was absolutely amazing training opportunities, whether it was provided by the town or just on our own. And so I think that is great that we can do that. So that is my take on professionalism. The functions of the board, I think for Stephen, who is our new person, may be the only person who doesn't fully, forgive me if you already know this, but, as much as we are a quasi-judicial body, as you see on the agenda, our role is interpreting the law and not making or enforcing the law. So every petition, there has to be findings made that it is in compliance with the zoning board bylaws. And so we look at the bylaws, we read, we interpret, and we have to make specific findings to say that this is in concert or this is allowed by the bylaw. And we make those recommendations, we make those findings. Public hearing versus public meeting. The public hearing, the applicant presents their application, petition. We hear what they're asking the zoning board for. And then, of course, once they present, there's discussions, but the board as a whole, we move to a public meeting, and that's where we discuss and deliberate on the merits of the petition and whether or not it comports with the bylaws. The application types that come before us are special permits, variances, and administrative ruling. We mostly get special permits. Essentially, we're trying to do something that warrants a special permit, meaning we are looking to not necessarily ignore, I don't want to use the word ignore, but we are granting certain provisions that would not necessarily be allowed. I mean, it still comports with the bylaws, but we're making certain exceptions for the special permit. And sometimes the special permit encompasses other permits that are granted by the town. I want to table variance because I do believe, and I don't know where this is going, but I think our height requirements for the town are about to change. And I think with the height requirements for buildings, we may see less variance. I think I only saw 2 in my tenure here on variances, but we may talk about that in the next administrative meeting to see, what the proposal is on variances. And representation or absence of the applicant. So I think that I'm hoping I understood this, Ms. Williams. Is this withdrawal? Is this who's representing the applicant or absent of the applicant? Or is this applicant specific or representative on behalf of the applicant?
I believe it's all of the above.
It's all
So,
go ahead.
yes. Would you like me
Okay.
to elaborate further?
Yes, please. Yeah.
Okay, so with this one, I think you're just gonna be reminding everyone, like, usually we have applicants, sometimes they represent themselves, sometimes they have lawyers, or sometimes they have someone else standing in for them. And we just want to make sure that when they are by themselves, especially, that we're remembering things like that they have the ability to withdraw without prejudice. We just want to make sure that we're being supportive of the applicant in that way, especially if they don't have representation. It's just a reminder, I think, is all that is.
Thank you for that. And I I think that's one of the things that I felt like we did best. I mean, other than improving things, but we always gave people a second chance. We didn't arbitrarily say no. I think together we said, okay, we're not saying no. We don't have all the information. This person may not have all the information themselves. They came with this idea, but it doesn't rise to the level of where we can say yes or no at this point. And rather than just dismissing the applicants, we say, let's continue this without prejudice or have you withdraw without prejudice. And I think that is something that, you know, it goes back to having people come before the board and feel heard and not just say, wait a second, I was just totally dismissed. So I like the idea, I love the idea rather, that is still something that we can do, you know, affording people an opportunity to go back, rethink what they really want to do, where they really want to go with this, and then come back before the board to, quite frankly, we're helping to help them with, you know, what they're trying to do with their property. So yes, I do like that we do have that option where a person or petitioner can withdraw without prejudice.
Can I interject? I do have my hand up for.
Go ahead, Ms. Greenbaum.
The other option is, which occurred to me, with a couple of things that were rushed at the end of the year because Steve didn't want to continue past July 1. And it was withdrawn without prejudice. You could have waived the fees. That's one of the things we used to do years ago, is waive the fees when they come back so that they don't have to go through the whole process. Well, you have to go through the beginning with the legal ad and all that if you don't continue it. But waiving the fees is a generous thing to do if the person genuinely has something that you like but needs a lot of work.
So I think that is something that we can discuss. I saw Ms. Williams's email. She is going to send the updated rules and regs to everyone. I believe that is a 6-week wait time. So maybe once everyone has that and has an opportunity to review, then we can have that conversation if there's anything that we may want to amend or add to that. But thank you for that feedback.
We never had a thing like that before. It was a lot shorter and a lot of stuff didn't repeat all of the laws. On our introductory paragraphs lasted maybe a minute or two. I think we got to find a way to get rid of that, or at least waive it when it's not appropriate. The 8-minute intro, because that's not something that's required by law.
So I know that is not on the agenda tonight, but I'm not sure if you saw Ms. Williams's email, but Town Council did say there are opportunities to revise that when there's not a public facing meeting. So we can talk about that at our next admin meeting, but
Yeah, I had researched that thoroughly before I wrote it up.
Yeah, we did cut it back considerably tonight.
Yeah, you did, and I was very grateful for that because there was no need to go into it. No, it goes by so fast. You don't know what he's saying anyway. If you don't know what, you haven't heard it 100 times. But anybody who's sitting in the room isn't going to know what you said. So,
I'm
there's
sure
another
Mr.
way to
Henry will be
handle that
talking very
information.
quickly from now on.
Yes, so I will, where appropriate, I will tailor the intro where appropriate. Review and acceptance of minutes. I know that there will be times when minutes are before the board to be approved and you were not on that panel of the minutes that you're approving. And my understanding is you can still vote on approving the minutes or you can abstain. It's your decision. But there are no issues with if there are minutes before the board, you voting to approve the minutes. You're not voting on the merits of whatever was before the committee. Just in that minutes, you're literally just voting on the minutes. So there is nothing to say, I wasn't at that meeting, but yes, I'm voting to, approve the minutes. And I know that has been questioned by some people in the past. And I just want to point that out, that there are no issues, because that is part of what we do. Whenever there are minutes to be approved, whether you were on that panel or not, it will come before some version of the board to approve those minutes. And longer advance notice of site visits. Yeah, I would very much appreciate this, because there are times when, and I know the town staff does their utmost best to make this notice as much as possible, give appropriate notice as possible for, when there's a site visit. And so, yes, if there's an opportunity to, share site visits information well before when it's about to happen, that way we can plan accordingly. Because one of the things that really does help with these applications are the site visits. And, sometimes a person is before us and they're describing something, and quite frankly, you may not get it, but if you see the building in person, you may say, oh, that's what they're talking about. And so if there's an opportunity to go and see the property, I promise it helps when somebody comes before the board and start talking about, curtilage and pushing back and all those things, where you sometimes it's one of those things where you actually have to see it sometimes to really fully appreciate it. So if at all times you can go to the site visits, I highly recommend that we do so as a board. I know that there are times when people are away and can't do so, but if you have the opportunity to do so, I would recommend that we all attend those site visits. They are very helpful. And I see Ms. Williams with her hand.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to that point, introduce another item for Hilda's list of suggestions, which would be to revise then when site visits take place, because I believe it's in the rules and regs. It's somewhere in there that says site visits take place the Tuesday, the week of the hearing. So I sort of inherited that practice. So if we are feeling like we would like to change that, I think that would be something to add to the list of things to discuss, to revise at a later date during another admin meeting.
Can I also say that gets difficult in the wintertime if it gets dark at 4 o'clock? I've been at site visits in the dark, and even though there were plenty of lights, because it happened to be a commercial place, it really needs to be in daylight so you can see. And the second thing I was thinking about is when you send out the abutters letters, is it possible at that point to make a citation at the bottom of when the site visit probably will be, but it's subject to confirmation if they can call and check, or put the site visit on the town calendar.
To be
And then-
perfectly frank, I would not want to advertise the site visit. It's just, it can very easily turn into a public meeting of some kind or some sort. And it just
I
is
agree.
an opportunity for the board members to be present. So I think what we have here, and I appreciate the suggestion, Ms. Greenbaum, but for that particular item, I really do feel that that would not be worth the board's time and effort and energy. It's a time for members of the board and that particular panel to really interact with the applicant, with their representatives, and to get a good sense of what is before us. Yes.
Can I reply?
Yes.
I have done Greenleaf several times, and I didn't find them in any of the permits, but I know it because I knew that place really well, and I also know the 30-year history with the building owners, the condo unit owners, and they've been being promised for 30 years. Well, when the project is done, you'll own it, and you can make the decision. And it's not a happy relationship from people I heard who live there. And we were not shown things, particularly the erosion around that parking lot. We didn't know until we saw the pictures from the condo owners, and it would have been nice if the condo owners had been present at that site visit because it would have saved an awful lot of time and a lot of discussion if we had seen what they were telling us after the fact. That's the main reason. I know that in the town meeting, we had discussions about who should be notified when things happen downtown. How about the lessees of the commercial properties? Do they have a right to know what's happening with their building? And it's sort of the same thing with you. If you have a condominium and you have ownership of your four walls, and you're going to be in charge someday of what's going on the outside, it's nice to at least be there to show things that the ongoing owners who haven't given up Greenleaf aren't willing to show you, because that place has not been maintained well. You can tell just by looking around that the current owners are not doing things up to the way the unit owners want it to be. So, I mean, that's what came to my mind. And then when we have the hearing in North Amherst, the site visit in North Amherst for 790, 800 North Pleasant Street, the neighbors were there en masse, so they knew it was going to be. And it's very helpful for, if they have things they want us to see. But
So-
Greenleaf's is, I mean, most of the time it's not an issue, but Greenleaf's happens to be an issue where the owners of the complex and the developers and the unit owners don't see eye to eye.
So thank you, Ms. Greenbaum. There are things that you say that I absolutely think that we cannot exceed the authority of the ZBA. And a lot of the things that you raised are issues that are not ZBA issues. And
No,
so,
but I'm saying them because I think that we would have been better informed if we had the unit owners as well as the developers at the meeting. I mean, at the site visit, to show us things that they showed us after the fact in photographs. That's a special case. And so sometimes you have to think about special cases.
thank you for the feedback. Mr. Silver has his hand up.
First of all, about the site, this is all about site visits. I like the idea of the site visits being at a regular time, like Tuesday at 2:00 or something like that, prior to when it appears on the agenda. So we can plan and know that there might be a site visit. I would like more advanced confirmation, but it's very difficult to find a time when a number of people will be available if the time keeps changing. So there's something appealing about Monday afternoon or Tuesday afternoon prior to the Thursday meeting. It's fresh in our minds, and we can sort of know to be ready to set aside something on Tuesday afternoons, or Monday afternoons, whatever. So I like that, but I would like more advanced confirmation rather than getting an email on Monday that the site visit is Tuesday at 2:00. That's when it gets difficult. In response to Ms. Greenbaum and her suggestion about opening site visits to applicants or other residents, I think that's a big mistake. The meeting where the applicant presents the reasoning behind their application is when there is public record, where there is a controlled, appropriate method for presenting. A site visit that is supposed to be for the members of the panel to see in person what the applicant is talking about. And I think I've found site visits to be very useful and very appropriate. I would not want a lot of people gathering and it becoming a bit an unofficial meeting with no record and no structure. I think that would be really a big mistake. I was told at the very beginning, I think at my first site visit, not to discuss the application, to ask questions perhaps. How tall do you think that will be? How far back? Show me the border show me the property line, things like that. But I was pretty clearly instructed, do not discuss with the applicant what they are planning to do. That is for their presentation at the board meeting. So I think that it would be a minefield to let other people besides the board and the applicant attend site visits.
I agree wholeheartedly with you, Mr. Sloboda. Mr. Offeld?
Yeah, I agree with everything Mr. Sloboda just said. And in particular about the danger of the site visits and on those, and to Ms. Greenbaum's point, if we determine during the hearing that from the public or whoever tells us that there's more information you should have about this site, can we do a second site visit? Is that possible?
I can look into that and see what
Yeah.
our guidelines are. Yeah.
And so for that rare exception where we just didn't get enough information, that could be a remedy for it. But yes, I agree that having anybody other than the applicant and their representatives and the board members there and our staff, of course, would not be a
So-
good idea. That should be the
so-
limited. Yeah.
Mr. Offeld, the only thing that comes to mind with a second site visit, and yes, there are times when we don't have sufficient information and we continue the hearing to a date certain, it means exactly that. We would be continuing a hearing to another
Right.
date. Yeah.
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 Yes, and I just reiterate, especially for Mr. Casey, our new member, that the site visit, as Mr. Sloboda said very clearly, the site visit is just for information gathering. It's not for really discussing the application in detail or negotiating with the applicant or anything else. Just collecting information and seeing the site. And I also agree with Mr. Sloboda on a specific day and time or at least a specific day and time window. And this ought to be sort of a requirement of the application. The applicant has to show up in this time window for a site visit. That seems to be reasonable. And if we're all okay with it, that time window, reserving that time window in our schedules, then that should work. Okay, that was it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. White?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I would echo what Mr. Offeld and Mr. Sloboda have said. My concern with allowing or opening up the site visits would be, I think it might actually be a violation of the open meeting clause because, of course, we want to hear from the public and we want the public engaged. However, it has to be in a capacity where it's open and this information is public. And I could see that very quickly turning into a process where we're being lobbied by neighbors, pro or against, whatever the situation is, but being lobbied as members of the ZBA by neighbors, and that's not appropriate. But thank you.
Are there any, Ms. Williams has her hand up, I believe.
So I'm just going to state this for the record so I can put it into the minutes, and then moving forward, add it to our list of suggestions of things to review, which is choosing a specific date and time, maybe not the week of the hearing, maybe 2 weeks before the hearing, but also to make a note that it should be part of the application requirement for applicants to reserve that time and know that that's exactly when they should be prepared to have a site visit. And then the third thing I heard was to have the option, depending on feedback received by the board during a hearing, during public comment, to possibly continue a hearing so that there is an opportunity for a second site visit. Did I capture all of that correctly? I think those were the three main things out of that.
You did. I just want to make sure I clarify Mrs. Sloboda's point. We're not asking for site visits to be done 2 weeks before the hearing. He's asking that, within that same week. However, we would like notice of the meeting in advance of that week. So if
Okay.
there's a site visit, and Mr. Sloboda has his hand up, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not committed to the Tuesday before the Thursday of the application. It could be the week before. I don't care. I just think it should be a somewhat fixed, regularly scheduled. And if on weeks when there's no on meetings when there's no applicant, then obviously there's no site visit the week before. But when something gets onto the meeting schedule, I think it would be helpful if the site visits are on a regular day. I would like to know that Tuesday afternoons, as an example, or Thursday afternoons the week before are a good chance there will be a site visit, and I would tend to hold that open. That's all. The other thing that Ms. Williams said, I'm not sure was actually accurate. On the topic of second site visits, in 3.5 years, I've never heard of a second site visit. And while I believe that we would have, as a board, and the chair would have the authority to schedule it, I think it sets a questionable precedence to enshrine a second site visit, and that it should be used on an extremely rare basis, only if we felt there was something that we completely overlooked that can only be remedied by visiting the site again. There have been occasions when the applicant has been poorly prepared, poorly documented, didn't have a real grasp of what they were doing, and they have either the right to withdraw or continue, and that still stands. But I don't think that we are charged with doing the work of the applicant to make their application work. I think that we are a quasi-judicial body, as Chair Judge and Chair Henry have said, and that we are there to listen and make a judgment. I don't think that that we are charged with doing the work of the applicant to make their application better. So I don't like the idea of drifting in that direction more than, well, I don't like drifting in that direction at all. Let the applicant do their work.
Mr. Sloboda, if I could just respond, I was simply trying to capture Mr. Alfeld's, I think, point as to how to handle the public comment in light of Ms. Greenbaum's suggestion of having the public at site visits. So it would be just something for discussion and completely at the board's discretion, not necessarily an actual policy.
I didn't mean the public in general. I meant in the place of condominiums, the condominium owners who are being represented by developers with whom they may not agree. That was and the other thing that I wanted to mention, which this town has forgotten over the past 20 years, and especially since a lot of our power was given for special permits to the planning board, and that a special permit is not a guaranteed right. It's discretional. And one of the things you can do, and I will give a planning board example, so as not to indict anybody. When 1 East Pleasant Street was built and they asked for extra height, they just got that special permit. There was no negotiation at all. That the planning board could have said, oh, you want an extra story? Well, then make the sidewalk wide enough so that a wheelchair can pass. And that's what the special permit is all about, to sit there. And if somebody comes in with a bad idea for another, if they come in asking for 80 apartments, what happened all through the 80s with every single one of the AJ Lane developments, Salem Place, Emory Place, they all got the number of units cut in half. And that's when Austin Sarat was chair of the board and Harriet Shapiro was chair of the board. People came in, I know, because I could have had 13 condos on North Whitney Street, and I got cut back to 8. That's the way it was. That's the way it was with special permits, that the owners and the applicant and the neighbors, the abutters, all got together and came up with a solution where nobody was happy. That was the good solution, when nobody's happy. And so I'm just saying that you don't have to agree with somebody that comes in with asking for 140 units that's got 80% of it in wetlands. You can say, well, come back with 40 and maybe you can fit them on site, and that's something that we can give you something in exchange for, whatever that would be. I don't know at the moment, but giving the special permit opens the door for negotiation, is what I am saying, that you don't have to automatically give 1 East Pleasant Street an extra story and then have sidewalks that aren't wide enough for a wheelchair and a person to pass. So that's the end of my lecture for that.
Thank you,
And
Ms. Greenbaum.
that's the way it was years ago, and it's become, I'm sorry that we lost a lot of our powers to the planning board, because I think they're abusing the special permit, like myself, but anyway.
So, thank you. So our next agenda item tonight would be approval of the minutes from Thursday, June 26. And it was not a very lengthy meeting, and there were no petitions before the board, and I reviewed, and I have no issues with the minutes. I don't know if anyone had a chance to review. Mr. Sloviter has his hand up. You're on mute, Mr. Sloviter.
It's almost a typo, but the first line, it says, Acting Chair Everald Henry, in the absence of Chair Judge, opened the meeting. And then a little bit down, it says David Sloviter, Acting Chair. Actually, I was the Acting Chair that meeting. So just for accuracy, the first line should be changed.
Thank you, Mr. Sloviter. I will make that change.
Okay, other than that, I have no changes.
Good catch.
It proves I read this stuff.
So with that correction, I move we approve the minutes for Thursday, June 2026 as recorded. Do I have a second on that motion?
Second.
Mr. Meadows, second. This is a roll call vote. Mr. White,
Aye.
Mr. Sloviter,
Aye.
Mr. Offeld,
I was not there. I will abstain.
Mr. Meadows,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. The motion is adopted and the minutes are approved. Given that this is our new fiscal year, Ms. Williams, do we have a calendar of anything coming up before us?
We just have the one application on the 24th, and that is for LSE Fornax Pulpit Hill. They are petitioning to basically get a special permit to amend their previous 2 special permits in order to relocate the battery energy storage per the request of Eversource. So that is on the 24th, and I'm seeing a quizzical look from Mr. Sloviter.
Yeah, I have a note that I just haven't heard to the contrary, that on the 24th, 65 High Street is on the agenda. Is that no longer the case?
That is no longer the case. That was
Okay.
thinking that they were going to be ready. They will not be ready to hear their petition on the 24th. So we just have Pulpit Hill for the 24th. One moment.
Can I ask a question? I live across the street from Pulpit Hill. Are they gonna put batteries up there? Is there a permit up there?
They already have two special permits. Can
For
everyone see?
Pulpit Hill?
Yes, for Pulpit Hill.
What is that for? That's batteries?
That was, so they came through in 2018.
Ah,
That's for the solar part of the project. And then
Oh,
I
yeah?
believe they came back in 2020 for the battery energy portion. And now they're coming back to amend the 2018 and 2020 permits because Eversource has asked them to move the battery energy storage closer to the transmission line. or
oh, is this the
transmission
one on
line.
Cinder Jones land? Not in
It's
the not on,
between Monty, I'm
what?
sorry, go ahead.
It's on Cinder Jones land, not on Roxton.
I don't know if it's Cinda. Is that, I think you're thinking of Shutesbury.
No, no,
Um,
no. She's got a big array up the street here.
Okay,
Right
so
on the 400s. Way
it
in the back. It is on Pulpit Hill, but it's not Pulpit Hill Road. That's why I was confused. I know about Cinders.
that's the correct.
And that has been there a while. So I thought this was something on Roxton from the way you were talking.
No, I just believe it's between Montague and Pulpit Hill Road.
Yeah, that's Cinder Jones probably. Okay. I know
So,
about that. It's not something new. Okay.
so Ms. Williams, this is, if I understood, it's a revision of an existing special permit.
It's a modification of the two previous special permits. And you'll be getting a project application report soon to review for that. And in light of our discussion this evening, I will make sure to try to schedule and secure the site visit date ahead of time so that everyone has it and knows to or is able to plan for it.
And just because we're discussing this now and the next one is the 24th, if we don't have more than, adequate notice on this first go around, I think we can all make adjustments for that, given that we're just agreeing to do this. So, just do your best with getting us dates for site visit, but if it's close, I think everyone will adapt to that for this one.
I understand. Thank you.
Yeah. As an inquiry, is every member of the full board available for that first meeting, July 24th?
Yes.
Yes, yes, David
Yep.
Slogan, yes.
I am available, Mr. Meadows.
Yes.
Okay. Miss Williams, you have a panel.
Okay, great. Just a quick question. Mr. Chair, do you want to address the role of associates in absence of a full-time member?
I will. Thank you for raising that. So for our associate members, you usually serve on the board whenever one of the full members is unavailable to serve. What Mr. Judge has done, and I think something I'll continue to do, is given everyone an opportunity to serve. So I will try to I will continue that, even if the full member is available, just so you have experience. And this actually, quite frankly, Mr. Casey primarily applies to you because Ms. Greenbaum has served many times, is to give you an opportunity to sit on hearings so you can actually fully appreciate what the board does. So even if a full panel is available, even if it's just a matter of excusing myself and have Mr. Silver be the chair, just so you can be on the panel, so you can see exactly what your role is on the ZBA, I will make those opportunities available.
Thank you.
That's
Thank you
the way it
thank you for
always
actually
was.
joining the board.
That's the way it always was years ago, and it was very helpful.
Yeah. Okay. So I believe we're at the end of our agenda. Are there any other business not anticipated within the last 48 hours?
I have none.
And if no one else has any, at a very wonderful 7:13, I would entertain a motion to adjourn ZBA meeting for July 10th, 2025.
So moved.
And I will second that. Yeah. And the motion is not debatable. Mrs. Silverter,
Aye.
Mr. White,
Aye.
Mr. Meadows,
Aye.
Mr. Offeld.
Yeah.
The chair votes aye. And with that, thank you everyone for joining and thank you for voting. And Mr. Casey, welcome to the ZBA. And Ms. Williams, again, thank you for your work and thank you for staying with us for this next fiscal year. And with that, we are adjourned.
Good night, everyone.
Good night. Good
Good night.
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 Have a good night.